Welcome to DEMOCREPUBLIX, where we cover the real news that matter to we the people. We're gonna go over some more headlines today. Today is June 12th, 2021. Again, for those of y'all that's new, basically I go over my news feeds. I have a lot of news feeds. What I have is I use ProtoPage, where I connect a bunch of different news sources to, and this is how I come up with the news throughout the week. A lot of the stuff that I get, I find from my news feeds. So I figured it'd be cool for y'all to follow along and see my process. Some headlines I glance over, I'll just read over and put in some input. Some of them we'll click on and go into more details. So let's see what we got going on. All right. The top left here, Zero Hedge. Citadel settles suit alleging former senior trader shared its algorithmic secret sauce. China urges U.S. and Russia to reduce their nuclear arsenals. They're not reducing theirs. Let's see what this is about. I can't believe they have the audacity to tell us this. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Friday called on the U.S. and Russia to reduce their nuclear arsenals during the UN-backed Conference of Disarmament in Geneva. While Washington is constantly hyping up China's nuclear arsenal, it is only a fraction of what the U.S. and Russia possess. Estimates on the higher end put China's nuclear stockpile at 350 warheads. Russia has about 6,350 warheads, while the U.S. has 5,800. Despite the numbers, the U.S. complains that Beijing does not want to enter arms control talks, but China has no motivation to do so unless the U.S. and Russia makes an effort to reduce their arsenals. Regardless, the U.S. continues to blame the issue on China. Quote, to date, China has rebuffed U.S. efforts to initiate bilateral talks on risk reduction and strategic stability. Robert Wood, the U.S. ambassador of disarmament, said at the conference. It's never gonna happen. We're never gonna reduce our arms. I don't see that happening at all. So I don't even know why China is trying. Let's see. Answering the $64 trillion question in a new grand unified theory of inflation. Everyone knows inflation is here. It's getting worse. It's 5%. It went up 5%. Inflation is 5% right now, which is higher. Which is the same amount it went up in 2008, right before the housing crisis. No vax, no phone. Pakistan province blocks SIM cards of unvaccinated. Wow, that is huge. Authoritarian. So if you're not vaccinated in Pakistan, they're going to shut off your phone. That's nuts. The Fed is wrong. Inflation is sticky. Putin reveals personal thoughts on Trump and Biden in rare NBC interview. Let's see what this is about. Let's see. Russian President Vladimir Putin this week sat down for an interview with the U.S. media outlet for the first time in nearly 3 years. NBC Keir Simmons talked to Putin about 90 minutes and released a teaser segment Friday night. Perhaps the most interesting part of the conversation centered on the Russian leader's perspective on American politics and his personal thoughts and comparisons of Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Putin called the former president extraordinary and talented, while noting that Biden is radically different and is a quintessential career man in politics. And that's something we already knew. We put in a man, and we gave a man the power, first of all, that most people believe he had dementia anyway. He's been in office 40-something, almost 50 years. So nothing has changed. We put in an old white man and think something is going to change. Wake up, people. Wake up. But let's see what Putin has to say.
Tonight, in our exclusive interview, President Vladimir Putin tells us he's going into next week's summit with relations with the US at an historic low.
We have a bilateral relationship that has deteriorated to its lowest point in recent years.
The Russian leader last met with an American president in Helsinki in 2018.
It's great to be with you.
So how does he compare former President Trump with the fifth American president he's now set to meet? He told us Biden is someone he can work with. You once described President Trump as a bright person, talented.
Hold on, he said Biden is someone he can work with. Of course Biden is someone he can work with because Russia and China has dirt on Biden. They own Biden. We already seen 100 emails. Ain't no telling what they have from Joe Biden.
How would you describe President Biden?
Well, even now, I believe that former U.S. President, Mr. Trump, is an extraordinary individual, talented individual. Otherwise, he would not have become U.S. President. He's a colorful individual. You may like him or not. But he didn't come from the U.S. establishment. He had not been part of big-time politics before. And some like it, some don't like it. But
love Trump or hate Trump, you have to admit that his policies worked, especially in comparison to what Biden policies is. He rolled back almost every Trump policy. And don't forget, Trump did prison reform. He got rid of basically Biden's 1994 crime bill that locked up about a lot of black people. Trump actually reformed that. And then we went ahead and put in the person that locked up most black people. It's totally opposite. We live in bizarro world.
That is a fact. President Biden, of course, is radically different from Trump because President Biden is a career man. He has spent virtually his entire adulthood in politics. Just think of the number of years he spent in the Senate. A different kind of person. And it is my great hope that, yes, there are some advantages, some disadvantages, but there will not be any impulse-based movements on behalf of the sitting U.S. president.
Think about it. What has Biden built? Biden built nothing. Biden is a career politician. He sat up in government all of his life, never created a business, never helped anyone. All he did was lock black people up.
We sat down for a 90-minute interview inside the Kremlin, where I pressed him on accusations he has ordered assassinations of his adversaries. The late John McCain in Congress.
All right, that's enough of that. But it's just utterly ridiculous that people fell for it. And we end up putting in an old man with dementia that's controlled by who knows what. It's Weekend at Bernie's. We're watching Weekend at Bernie's in real life. He don't know where he is half the time. Every time he'll walk away from people, his wife will go and snatch him up whenever a reporter asks him questions, he'll start rambling. His wife will snatch him up. It's sad, man. And this is the person who's running our country. Let's see. The UK government advisor says mask mandates should continue forever. That's UK. Y'all got to do something about that. That's crazy. They want y'all to wear a mask forever. So what's the point of getting vaccinated then if you got to wear a mask forever? What's the point? This is wealth redistribution. BlackRock and other institutional investors buying entire neighborhoods at huge premiums. A lot of people have been talking about that. It is definitely a seller's market, but I really don't understand why they buying up all of this real estate. As the real estate market continues to break records, a cabal of institutional investors has been tossing gasoline on the fire, buying up properties hand over fist as middle American renters watch their dreams of home ownership fade at the hands of pension funds and other financial behemoths. That's true. Regular people is having a hard time buying homes right now because they're being outbidded by these institutions. quote, you now have permanent capital competing with a young couple trying to buy a house. According to real estate consultant John Burns, whose firm estimate that in many of the country's hottest markets, roughly 20% of homes sold are bought by someone who never moves in. Quote, that's going to make the U.S. housing permanently more expensive, said Burns, who thinks home prices will climb as much as 12% this year on top of the last 11% rise. Wow. So that's a rise of 23%. That's crazy. Quote, limited housing supply, low rates, a global reach for yield, and what we're calling the institutionalization of real estate investors has set the stage for another speculative investor-driven home price bubble. Remember 2008? So now we got inflation, we got housing prices skyrocket. It's gonna pop, and when it pop, a lot of people are gonna lose a lot of money. His firm concluded finding Houston to be a favorite location for investors who have accounted for 24% of home purchases. Wow. The coronavirus pandemic sparked a race for home office space in yards. Occupancy rates reached records and rents are rising with home prices. The ecosystem of companies that service finance and mimic the mega landlords is booming. Burns counted more than 200 companies and investment firms in the house hunt. Computer-assisted flipper Open Door Technologies Inc., money managers including J.P. Morgan, Assets Management, and BlackRock. Everybody's talking about BlackRock. Platforms such as Fundrise and Roofstock that buy and arrange for management of rentals on behalf of individuals. And Builder LGI Homes, which now reports wholesale home sales to bulk buyers in its quarterly. So they snatching up all these houses. It's crazy. It's crazy. So where does that leave the average American that's trying to buy houses? Daily Caller. Wild fight breaks out during Nuggets Sun game in crazy viral video. Mr. Gorbachev, sorry. Tear down this wall. Ronald Reagan delivers his Berlin Wall speech 34 years ago. Mr. Gorbachev, yeah, I remember that. Huber, working on your own gun. 5 tools you really ought to invest in. Let's see, progressive phobia. Bill Maher tortures liberals for refusing to acknowledge how far America has come. Let's see. It's going to be a video, but I'm not going to play the video because every time I post the Bill Maher video, it ends up getting taken down. But I'll read it and see what it says. Comedian Bill Maher lashed out at liberals, accusing them of progressive phobia for refusing to acknowledge how far America has already come. Quote, and it's bad if Bill Maher says this. Bill Maher is saying this. Quote, if you think America is more racist now than ever, more sexist than before women could vote, and more homophobic than when blowjobs were a felony, you have progressive phobia, and you should adjust your mask because it's covering your eyes. Maher tweeted along with the clip from Friday's Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. That is hilarious.
And finally, new rules from now on when Joe Biden veers off into one of his long-winded stories that seem to be off topic. Everyone must realize he usually does have a point.
But those of you who are over 50, how often did you ever see advertisements on television with black and white couples?
The what?
Not a joke.
The what?
I challenge
what did he say?
Find today, when you turn on the stations, sit on one station for 2 hours, and I don't know how many commercials you'll see. Lay 8 to 5.
That's sad. I can't watch that. Well, Maher explained that progressive phobia was the phrase coined by Steven Pinker to describe a brain disorder that strikes liberals and makes them incapable of recognizing progress. It's like situational blindness. Only what you can see is that your dorm in 2021 is better than the South before the Civil War. Maher went on to list a series of issues where he felt liberals had failed to really recognize progress. I mean, has been a fast lurch to the left, and even Bill Maher seeing it and admitting it and calling out his own progressives for saying that America is so terrible, America's so racist and all this, when it's not. We have never been more accepting than any time in history, in any country in history. So I don't know where people is getting this from. Like, everyone is oppressed. They just making this stuff up. Quote, if you think America is more racist than ever, more sexist than before women could vote, and more homophobic than when blowjobs, I already read that one. Maher pointed out the fact that gay marriage had failed in state legislature 35 times before 2012. And the most recent polling has indicated that half of Republicans now support the issue. Quote, the chant from gay protesters used to be, we're here, we're queer, get used to it, Maher said, adding, well, we did. This is Pride Month, and it's not even a big deal anymore. 30 days of parades and festivals celebrating a cause that was once so divisive that Ellen had to pretend she was straight. Quote, not too long ago, I knew people who went to prison for growing pot, Maher continued, pointing out that the number of states that has since legalized medicinal and even recreational marijuana. And it's true. And progressives are pretending that they are so oppressed and just making stuff up because we live in a victim society where everyone is a victim, everyone cries, everyone's being oppressed, when that's not even the case. That is not even the case, not even close. Let's see what else we got going on here. People need to end the criticism of college football playoff expanding. Lamar Odom destroys Aaron Carter in a boxing match. It wasn't even close. I didn't even know they boxed. Washington Examiner. Byron Donalds. Trump support doesn't weaken my blackness. I seen a clip of that yesterday because I think this is the guy that's was trying to get into the black congressional caucus, which I don't know why, because the black congressional caucus does absolutely nothing for black people. They're basically there to keep the liberals in power. Rep. Byron Donalds would be the only Republican member of the Congressional Black Caucus if they let him join. But the group has not provided an invitation to Donalds for the last 6 months and appears to be trying to block him from becoming a member based on his party and politics. I mean, that tells you right there. If you're a conservative, they don't want you. Quote, just because I have a disagreement on certain policy matters from the Congressional Black Congress, that doesn't mean that I'm not black. That doesn't mean I don't care about black America. It means I have a difference of opinion, the Florida Republican told the Washington Examiner interview, which is true. Donalds has spoken to the caucus leaders in the past, but has not heard from any of his members since news broke the group was blocking his membership. He expects to hear more next week when the House returns to regular session. Quote, I was in the legislative black caucus when I was in Florida legislative, Donald said. I was pretty involved in the national conference of black state legislator. So for me, it was just a natural progression. The freshman congressman is one of 2 black Republicans in the House. Utah Rep. Burgess Owens said before his election he did not plan to join the caucus. That is not unusual. Now Senator Tim Scott, I really like Senator Tim Scott, also declined to join the group when he was in the House. I think Tim Scott should run for president, actually, in 2024. That would be awesome. Republican members of the caucus are few and far between. Still, a number of former Republicans have been members, including former Utah Rep. Mia Love, who said she would try to dismantle the caucus from the inside out. And you can't do that with all them liberals in there. They gotta protect their white liberal masters. That's what the Black Caucus is there for, to protect their white liberal masters. And former Florida Rep. Alan West, and I like Alan West, who went on to become chair of Texas State Republican Party, and he's no longer the chair. He stepped down, so a lot of people think he's running for Congress or something like that again. BuzzFeed News, which first reported Donalds went without an investigation to the group for 6 months. Invitation to the group for 6 months. Mentioned some Democrats refused to work with Republicans who voted against certifying the election results. Donalds was one of those Republicans. Meanwhile, Donalds was ambushed during an interview about his membership status with a supercut of controversial comments from former President Donald Trump. I'm going to play this. This is pretty interesting here.
You say that actually this will increase access for voters of color, for African Americans. That's just not true. There have been analyses, multiple done, including by the Houston Chronicle, looking at the bill specifically in Texas, including by the Washington Post, looking at these bills writ large. They're not going to increase access for voters of color. They're going to decrease access. Furthermore, you have defended President Trump for...
Yeah, it'll decrease access to people, to illegal immigrants. That's what the bill is for. It's to block illegal immigrants from being able to vote. So that's what they're talking about. They want illegal immigrants to be able to vote. And this bill would make sure that that won't happen.
Or you've said he's done enough when it comes to rebuffing ideas about white supremacy. But I do want to listen to some of his prominent comments on the subject of race to get your perspective.
Blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it. And you,
this is so wrong because they don't play the whole clip. Because prior to that, after that, he said not the neo-Nazis. He specifically stated not the neo-Nazis. He was talking about the two groups that were there to protest the statue coming down. And he was talking about both sides, the ones that were protesting to not take it down, and the other ones. And he excluded the neo-Nazis when he said that, and they edited that out. In fact, I think it was Tubin or somebody came out and actually admitted, yeah, he actually did say not the neo-Nazis. CNN actually admitted that, someone on CNN. So how they go and show this clip? And then watch them cut it off. They're not going to show the whole thing. Watch
you don't have any doubt about it either. Who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and Proud Boys.
Stand back and stand by. When people proudly had their Confederate flags, they're not talking about racism. They love their flag. It represents the South. What do you prefer? Blacks for Trump or African Americans for Trump? George Washington.
What was wrong with that? He asked, what do y'all prefer? Blacks for Trump or African Americans for Trump? Most people say black, because African American is a term that Jesse Jackson came up with in the 80s. There was no vote. There was no consensus on it. Who makes him the arbiter of, who makes him the decider of what to call black people? Most black people call themselves black. I really don't know too many, only, few people that actually call themselves African Americans. And if I was white, I'd be just as confused too. What do y'all want me to call y'all? And he asked them. And you heard the people in the background, they said, black, black. This is so deceitful. This is so deceitful. This super cut here.
Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? Do you know what I'm talking about? Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now?
Most Americans feel that way. Most Americans respect the flag. Most Americans don't want to see people disrespecting the flag. So what was racist about? See, this is so deceitful. This is so deceitful. This is why I can't stand CNN.
Do you think that your defense of a person that said things like that might be incongruent with the mission of the CBC?
First of all, whatever the president said in the past has nothing to do with this discussion at all. I think what's
well,
important
you've
to understand
defended
that
it.
You see how she cut him off? You see how she cut him off? So disrespectful. But she called Trump racist. That was disrespectful. She just cut him off.
You've defended
please
him.
don't cut me off. I have not cut you off in this interview. Please do not do that to me. Thank you. As a black man in America, I'm allowed to have my own thoughts on who I choose to support.
Did she smack her teeth when he said that? She said, hold on, I got to rewind that. I think she smacked her teeth. I mean, she's so disrespectful, man. These white liberals are the real racists. They are the real racists. Look at her face.
Black man in America, I'm allowed to have my own thoughts on who I.
Yeah, she smacked her teeth. She smacked her teeth. These people are the real racists. And they project their racism on other people on the right. That's what it really is. She cut him off, and then she smacked her teeth when he was like, wait a minute, don't cut me off. You're being disrespectful. I think he handled it a lot better than me. I would have called her the B word. I ain't gonna lie. I wouldn't be able to hold it together. And then she smacked her teeth.
I have not cut you off in this interview. Please do not do that to me. Thank you. As a black man in America, I'm allowed to have my own thoughts on who I choose to support and who I choose not to support. I think that it's important whether you're talking about the Congressional Black Caucus or the Florida State Legislative Black Caucus or the National Caucus of State Black Legislators, organizations I have been a part of in the past. My support of President Trump has been consistent, but at the same time, I've had the ability to advocate for issues, ideas, proposals, and funding that have helped the black community in my state.
Yeah. What has the Congressional Black Congress done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing for black people. I can't name not one thing they actually done to help black people. Trump in his 4 years done more than for black people than the Congressional Black Congress done their whole time. This is their inception.
Talking to somebody who my first 3 years in college was at Florida A&M and HBCU. So whether my support for President Trump, whether it's for or against, is irrelevant. That has nothing to do with this discussion. This is whether the ideology of somebody who is conservative is welcome in the Congressional Black Caucus. It's really that simple.
Look at her face. Look at her face. She can't stand a black man being independent, thinking for himself, and not being a liberal cuckold.
And so to bring up President Trump and try to make this about him does not matter. It's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the situation at hand.
Well, I ask you because
the CBC would let me join.
Mia Love, for instance, there have been Republicans.
I mean, just sickening. Just sickening. She can't stand that this black man is a free thinker. She can't stand it. You can see it on her face. All right, let's see what else we got going on. These liberals be getting me hot. I don't understand. How can you be black and support them? They the real racists. Let's see. Trump's Senate endorsement puts North Carolina GOP in a pickle. Billionaire tax leak deals Biden blow in getting GOP support for IRS funding. The IRS, the way they come after conservatives, and the way they and the way they leak all people's information and stuff. What, you can't trust it. So why would you give them more money? More money for what? So they can do more leaks? Biden should make sure G7 isn't full of hot air. House chamber mask mandate lifted and Republicans rejoice. Biden actively engaged in case of British teenager killed by a suspected CIA agent. Wow. Liberals seethe over bipartisan infrastructure talks. Boris Johnson laments G7 media circus as grinning Biden looks on. Ray promises to look with Biden's spy chief into declassifying more on 9/11. Yeah, right. Most people don't believe in the official narrative anyway. Billionaire tax leak deals blow. This is the same thing they had earlier. Let's see what's going on over here on the right side. The Gateway Pundit. Porn star found dead in her home weeks after being attacked online for topless photo at George Floyd Memorial. Wow. 2 Boston school officials resign after anti-white racist text leak. Exclusive. The printing companies that supplied ballots in 2020 election may be as guilty as voting machine companies in potentially altering the 2020 election results. I would get into that, but you know how YouTube censor that. You can't mention anything like this. I will go into it in detail. Maybe I'll do this for Patreon. So if y'all subscribe to Patreon, I'll do the exclusive content, and I'll go into that into detail. Michigan Supreme Court deals blow to crooks and cheaters. Rules in favor of pathway to repeal Whitmore's Emergency Powers of Governor Act. She's still running her authoritarianism in this country, even after COVID. People getting COVID has gone down. You know, people got the jab, and she still want to hold on to that power. She is so corrupt. But Michigan put her in power. Can't be mad at anyone but yourself. Missouri governor to sign bill nullifying federal gun laws. That's awesome. Macron to Joe Biden. What we need is cooperation. I think it's great to have a U.S. president who is part of the club. What club? What club are you talking about, Macron? Part of the New World Order? Huh? Part of the international deep state? What club? Of course. That's why they didn't like Trump, because he was an outsider. He always was an outsider. They can't stand him. Manchin delivers blow to Dems. Abortion agenda will support Hyde Amendment. Daily Caller, Tucker Carlson praises Black Florida mom fighting to keep critical race theory out of schools. We talked about her yesterday. Mike Pompeo enjoys a 3-hour dinner at NYC Steakhouse. Football stunned as Denmark star. That's European football. I don't know anything about that stuff. Michigan man 69 who continued to receive food stamps after winning $2 million jackpot found dead. What? That's what ODB did. ODB was on food stamps even though he was making money. Part of Wu-Tang Clan. And I think they came after him for that too. Kerry Johnson, Jill Biden, and Bridget Macron enjoy trip to Cornwall. Who cares? Who cares about the wives going on a trip? How is this news, Daily Caller? No one cares. I mean, Daily Mail. No one cares about that crap. Bill Maher slams Kevin Hart for his ridiculous claim in New York Times about white power. Identical twin who helped dump body of mobster's son found dead after apparent overdose. Delta pilot discovers 435-day-old note inside an airplane written by a fellow airman. Jill Biden touts great work of Prince Harry's Invictus game when she met with British veterans. White boys who grew up one door down from a black neighbor were more likely to become Democrats. That's funny. That's because most people are Democrats unless they got off the Democratic plantation like me. See, my dad was never a Democrat, so that's why it was easy for me to get off the Democratic plantation and become a libertarian. Consider myself center right. I do some liberal issues I agree with, but I definitely consider myself center right overall, libertarian. The Epoch Times, female teen suicide attempt increased sharply during pandemic. Yeah, I think I'll do a whole thing on suicide and pandemics. For those of y'all that might not know, I am a licensed psychotherapist. I study all these types of statistics, and I've really been studying the effects of pandemic been having on people's mental health. So maybe I'll do a separate video on that. The pandemic definitely had a negative toll. The lockdowns in particular had a toll on a lot of people's mental health. It's sad. New Orange County facility bridges mental health divide. Biden administration shuts down Trump era Victim of Immigration Crime Engagement Office. Why would you shut that down? Why would you shut that down? What's the point of that? He is rolling back every single effective thing that Trump put together. Like, what is wrong with having a crime engagement office, someone that can help families that been their family members been murdered by illegal immigrants? Why would you shut that down? Man sentenced to prison for 10 years as a result of face mask related assault. Hackers stole nearly 26 million user login credentials for sites like Amazon, Google, and Facebook. Judge halts debt relief program for farmers of color. Says it's likely unconstitutional. Yeah, of course it's unconstitutional because it's giving people loans based on race, which is definitely discriminatory. It's definitely illegal. Police attacker wounds 13 in Austin shooting and escapes. Wow. Bongino report oil up nearly 50% for the year as inflation concerns grow. But it's funny because some government people coming out saying there's no inflation, which is idiotic. Everyone can see it. All you have to do is go to the supermarket and see the price of meat, see the price of milk, see the price of cheese, and see that it's going up, and you know it's inflation. I mean, you can't deny it. YouTube suspends Senator Ron Johnson for showing video on COVID treatments. Workplace discrimination complaints. I think these we went over yesterday. Let's see, we got anything. Let's go up top here. See what's going on up here. This is Just the News. I love Just the News. They have a lot of great reporting. This is ran by John Solomon. After he left the Hill, he created Just the News, and it's great. Biden closes office that assault victims of crimes committed by non-citizens. We talked about that. Apple says it has put limits on justice requests after revelation about Trump's search for leaks. Voter ID constitutional amendment proposed in Pennsylvania. What is wrong with IDing people? I go over this time and time again. They don't want to ID people because they want to be able to not verify these voters. So anyone can go in and vote, illegals or not. So, and the thing they try to say, oh, having someone have to have an ID is discriminatory. No, it's not, because in most states, if you can't afford an ID, the state will supply it for you for free. So how is that discriminatory? In every single thing you do anyway, you need an ID. So what's the problem with having to vote to have an ID? To get alcohol, you got to have an ID. To open a bank account, you got to have an ID. And like I said, if you can't afford it, most states supply it for you for free. So it's not discriminatory to have an ID to vote. It's just another way for them to try to steal votes. Workplace discrimination complaints including for race plummet in Trump presidency. Barroso opposes Biden pick for land management director, claiming ties to eco-terrorists. Cotton slams anti-American indoctrination in military diversity training. I'm glad I'm no longer in the military, because I definitely would speak out against that, and I would be reprimanded, because I would not let them train me on this fake history and diversity stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They should be focusing on the mission, not on this diversity crap. Women fails to prove the COVID-19 vaccine made her magnetic during Ohio House hearing. That's funny. 3 dead after car crashes into ignites Pittsburgh building. Oh yeah, this is the Hill, by the way. Arizona election audit draws Republican tourists. Message to Trump: this is why you lost the election. 5 states have yet to administer 1 dose of vaccine to half of their populations. That's because people don't want to take it. I mean, you can't make people want to take an experimental drug. Nixon's formal White House counsel: Trump DOJ was Nixon on stilts and steroids. Yeah, right. Supreme Court confounding its partisan critics. Let's see, the Daily Wire hate crime hoax She claimed racial targeting after her door was egged. Police says she egged it herself. Most of, I mean, I don't understand the mentality of people. They want to be victimized so bad that they do it to themselves just to say that they're a victim. That's a mental health issue. You have issues, lady. She need to seek help. She need to seek help. And if she's in Virginia, she can come holler at me. I got you. LA City Attorney will not criminally charge 179 people arrested at protests over uprooted homeless encampment. All right. Let's see what else we got going on. Let's see. High school student attending prom receiving branding if they didn't have COVID. We talked about that yesterday. Michael Brown father presses Black Lives Matter, wants to know where the $90 million in funds went. Then let's see what this is about. Because y'all know I done said, if you've been following DEMOCREPUBLIX and watching some of my clips, since its inception, I've been saying that Black Lives Matter is a farce. These people don't care anything about Black Lives Matter, because if they did, they'd be in the hood, and they're not helping the people that they're supposed to be helping. The people that died, that got killed by police and stuff, they're supposed to be helping. They're not helping. So this goes to show right here that they're not doing anything to help people. The father of Michael Brown, who was fatally shot by police in 2014, has signed on to a group demanding accountability and transparency from Black Lives Matter. Michael Brown Sr. has signed his name to a new group called BLM 10+, which seeks financial transparency from BLM Global Network Foundation, as controversy surrounding BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors and her lavish lifestyle continue to bubble. Quote, referring to the initial calls for more transparency and accountability from the BLM 10, the name for the 10 original BLM chapters, a new group deemed the BLM 10+, is now speaking out, Fox News reported Friday. Quote, the number of chapters that have aligned in support of our statement has nearly doubled, said a statement from BLM 10+, issued Friday. Some of these chapters have made their statements echoing not only our call to accountability, but also our experiences as we sought transparency, democracy, and internal transformation for years. Quote, the BLM 10+ continues to call for transparency and, most importantly, for principled accountability in movement infrastructures, the group added. The issues we've highlighted within the Black Lives Matter movement are not unique to this group or to people of color. Grassroots movement have been co-opted across the globe, and it is our intention to be part of the collective creative processes based on integrity, so that we nor any other activist or advocate encounters these avoidable issues. And I did a Twitch last week when I talked about how all these groups become co-opted. And it's easy to co-opt the groups. We've seen it with the Occupy Wall Street. We saw how that been co-opted. Every single group, one of these groups end up being co-opted. But I don't think Black Lives Matter really was co-opted. I think from its inception, it was owned by and created by white people. And they hired on the I don't know what to call these Marxist lesbian that they got to start the organization, who want to destroy the family, the nuclear family. They hate men. You notice these women hate men. They really hate men. According to the Daily Mail, the group is demanding to see how the $90 million raised by the organization has been spent. Black Lives Matter took $90 million in 2020 and was left with a balance sheet of $60 million by January 2021. Around $8 million was spent on expenses, including staffing costs, with the other $20 million donated to local chapters and nonprofits. Those numbers and news of color's property portfolio has led to questions about how BLM is spending its money and complaints over lack of transparency from bereaved families previously supported by the group. As highlighted by the Daily Wire on Friday, Colors, who has since stepped down from her position with the organization, has reportedly put $35,000 worth of fencing and an electric gate around her $1.4 million secluded Los Angeles home, where the population is reportedly less than 2% black. Black Lives Matter, but she won't move her black ass into a black neighborhood. She move into an area which is only 2% black. So her chances of running into another black person is very slim. But she care about black people. These people are so fake, man. I told y'all from the beginning. As highlighted by Fox News, a neighbor who spoke to the subcontractor told the DailyMail.com that the erected wooden fence around the pricey property, in addition to other exterior improvements, totaled up to around $35,000. Quote, excuse me. Quote, it will have an electronic gate at the driveway portion and walk-up door and call box and other safety measures, cameras, to keep the riffraff out, the neighbor said. DailyMail.com reported that photos of the property revealed the fencing and gate project was nearly completed. Keep out the riffraff. They mean keep out the black people. I told y'all from the beginning about Black Lives Matter. All right. Where was I? Oh yeah, Daily Wire. Soccer star Christian Eriksen stable after collapsing during Euro Championship game. CPR given on the field. Hate crime hoax. She claimed racial targeting after the door was egged. Yeah, that was her. LA City Attorney will not criminally charge 179 people arrested at protests over uprooted homeless encampment. LA is a mess. I mean, I would not want to live there. High school students attending prom received branding. We went over that. LA Democrat running for mayor wants city to resume daytime ban on homeless encampments. So that's their solution. Instead of clearing it out, no, y'all just can't be out here in the daytime. At nighttime, y'all can have at it. That's their solution. On top of throwing money at it. We went over that article yesterday when they want to throw billions of dollars at this stuff. Like that's going to fix the problem. Half of pandemic unemployment money from the past year stolen, bulk of it in foreign hands. Wow. Can't say I didn't see that coming. Let's see this for a quick second. Let's see what's going on with this. I think it was by design. I don't think this was by accident. I just don't trust Congress. A stunning $400 billion in unemployment claims were likely stolen via fraud over the past year, and the bulk of the money has come from crime syndicates in places like China, Russia, and Nigeria. Quote, criminals may have stolen as much as half of the unemployment benefits the U.S. has been pumping out over the past year, Axios reported Friday. Unemployment fraud during the pandemic could easily reach $400 billion according to some of the estimates, and the bulk of the money likely ended in the hands of foreign crime syndicates, making this not just theft but a matter of national security. That money is gone. We're not going to see that money again. Let's see. All right. Let's check out the Federalist. Biden's climate change stance exposes a delusional administration. I'm not going to get into that because if I click on that, I'm going to get into a whole climate change spill, and I can go all day about how fake climate change is. The climate changes is not by humans. Like I say it time and time again. You know, in the 1600s, there was a mini ice age, and then it warmed up. There was no cars around then. How did it warm up? We had an ice age. All the ice melted. There was no cars then. How did the ice melt? Because we go through climate changes on its own. We go through periods of cold. We go through periods of warmth. We're about to be in the solar minimum, which means we're going to have extreme cold temperatures coming soon. So I don't know how they're going to explain away that. The climate changes because that's the way the world works, not because of us. Too fat to fly. FAA updates guidelines as American obesity crisis grows. Tom Cotton, military whistleblower. We went over that. CNN banned Clay Travis for saying boobs, but welcomes public masturbator Jeffrey Tubin back with open arms. Yeah, and they got rid of Rick Santorum. These people are crazy, man. If you listen to CNN, you are ill-informed and being lied to and given propaganda. Do not listen to CNN. Scott Adams shared emotional story of losing his stepson to fentanyl. Fentanyl is killing a lot of people. It's killing a lot of people. Come to find out, what's the guy? I cannot think of his name right now. From Digital Underground that just died. I cannot think of his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. The Humpty Dance guy that just died. I can't remember his name. But come to find out, he was on fentanyl and meth. That's what killed him. It's sad. Fentanyl is killing people. I don't know what possessed people to try this stuff in the first place. You know, I do help people with substance abuse issues. If you were in Virginia, holla at me. Victor Davis Hanson, AOC, and others opposed to childbearing suffer from prolonged adolescence. Let's see, PJ Media. Law enforcement recruit woes, a combustible mixture crisis, and wake-up call. What are you going to do when there's no police? All you got to do is look at Minnesota, and that'll tell you what you can do. And also in Atlanta, and that's why Buckhead want to separate from Atlanta, because crime has gotten so bad, because they were talking about defunding police and stuff, so the police aren't really, they don't have the police to police the area. And Buckhead said, nah, screw that. Y'all want to defund the police? Y'all can go ahead and defund the police. We want to separate from Atlanta, and that way they're in control of their own policing and stuff like that. And not have, because they said it's terrible out there. They said people don't even want to, they're afraid to pump gas near their neighborhood because it's so bad. New Jersey district replaces holidays on school calendar with days off after Italian uprising. Suspects still at large after 13 injured in overnight Austin bar shooting. Federal Reserve warns employees not to use biased terms like founding fathers. What? You can't use founding fathers? So now the Federal Reserve is woke. The Federal Reserve is woke. I think somebody wrote an article about that. Teen mental health emergency room visits skyrocket during a pandemic. We got into that. If you got a teenager that's having any mental health issues, please get them help. And again, if you're in Virginia, holler at me. Dementia Joe forgets where he is again. We talked about that in ad nauseum. Everybody knows we got a man in office that has dementia. It's not hard to see. Your Second Amendment update, CMT goes woke. 2A sanctuaries and good guys shooting bad guys. The Free Beacon, family of imprisoned American journalists urges Biden to bring him home. Qatar behind hostile Israel statements from American universities. Critical race theory opponents win board elections at nation's top high school. We went into that yesterday. China tests Guam killer missiles. NYC Law School makes systematic racism courses a graduation requirement. It is New York. So that's I wouldn't expect anything other than that. They're going to push this liberal fake history agenda that teaches people that all black people are depressed and all white people are the oppressors. That's basically critical race theory in a nutshell. Dem support for Chinese forced labor sanctions imperils Biden's solar energy agenda. Fox News, how lenient NYC judge left a reputed gang member free to allegedly kill an innocent dad. I would sue. I would sue New York City for allowing this. Cash Jernin murder case. Darian Brown handed new charge after blood evidence was found, reports say. Misha Barton says she felt pressured to lose virginity while portraying Marisa Cooper on the OC. Trail limit set in the state park over heat-related rescues. Sex ed teacher out at Dalton after masturbation lesson for first graders. First grader? Why would a first grader need to learn that? Why would a first grader need to learn that? You don't know anything about sex in the first grade. They are sick. These liberals are sick and pushing this stuff on our children. I mean, this is horrible. You're in first grade. What do you know about sex? Mother and son from prominent South Carolina family are found shot dead. Broad X cicadas interfere with cars, planes, weather radar. Sorry, Brood X cicadas. New York Post. Ransom note demands cheesecake in exchange for garden gnome freedom. Whatever that is. NYC man disrespected by limited reopening of senior centers after lawsuit. Remote workers put in longer hours but were less efficient, study shows. I can see that. Because when I work from home, I tend to procrastinate. I tend to go off and do other things and then come back. And it takes me longer to finish the task. Whereas if I'm at work, I can go ahead and knock it out in no time. So I definitely believe in that. I believe in that study. And for those of y'all that don't know, I've studied advanced statistics, not physics. Advanced statistics. I am good at reading studies. I can interpret studies, and I wrote a couple studies myself. So I am efficient in studies. I'm pretty good at recognizing bullcrap too. So when I quote studies, instead of me relying on what the media says and what the reporter says, I'll actually go to the studies myself, and I'll read the studies myself. Islanders finally giving this generation a taste of past euphoria. Stay protected while traveling with the first and only FDA cleared mask. Is the FDA cleared mask? Okay, cool. E-bikes under fire as accidents, fatalities climb in NYC. Jewish leader slam desecration of Torah Ark in Frankfurt Airport. Levon Bell rather retire than play for Andy Reid again. Biden routes $2 billion in border wall funds to military environmental projects. What does $2 billion have to do with the wall and environmental? How I survive a sinking cruise ship. Global COVID-19 deaths this year surpassed 2020 totals. Wow. This probably has to do with the variants. Governor Cuomo signs new law funding impeachment investigation. What is this? Governor signs bill into law that will fund the legislators' impeachment investigation, assessing allegations of sexual harassment. Oh, wow. I can't believe he signed that. That's surprising. I guess he had to, because if he didn't sign it, they'd be like, well, what you got to hide? Sports broadcasts aren't giving up on dumb ideas. I'm not even going to click on that because it's probably has to do with Stephen A. and his race baiting and dumb stuff like that. It pisses me off, so I'm not even going to get into that. Celeb photographers snaps tell stories on Springsteen, Boeing, and star he wed. Why Looney lefty Brad Lander should not be elected NYC comptroller. How to watch tonight's YouTube versus TikTok boxing match. Angelina Jolie seen leaving ex-husband Johnny Lee Miller's Brooklyn apartment. Man arrested for shoving West Village diner. cook into a plate glass window. Wow. Mets give encouraging Jacob deGrom injury update. Staten Island DA investigating alleged election fraud in city council race. Election fraud is running rampant. Let's see, BPR. I think I'm gonna go over this and the Daily Caller, and then that'll be it. House Republicans demand details of DOJ investigation into leak of wealthy people's tax record. Even CNN is worried. Ingram says Harris' job performance has Biden admin feeling buyer's remorse. Yeah, they try to put in a black person just so they can be like, hey, we got a first black female vice president, even though she has no experience. Everyone knows she slept her way to the top. You don't believe me? Check out what Judge Joe Brown had to say about it. And she has no experience, and all she's known for is locking up black people and keeping people locked up longer than what they have to be when they supposed to be getting out. So she was her administration was brought before a judge, and their excuse was, well, we need workers. So they keep people locked up longer than what they were supposed to be, just so they can have people pick up trash and make license plates and stuff like that. It's just, she's a horrible person. And every time someone asks her a question, she have a nervous little tick or whatever you want to call it, where when you ask her a question, she'll cackle and laugh. She'll hold her head back and laugh. And it could be a serious question. It could be about somebody dying, and she still would laugh. It's crazy. And that's our vice president. So when she get an interview and get frustrated, she do that little cackle and don't know what she's talking about most of the time. Biden signs on to $40 trillion Build Back Better world plan to build infrastructure in poorer countries. What about building infrastructure in this country? I don't understand our government. We going to other countries and trying to build other countries up when our country is falling apart. We just getting through a global pandemic, and you worried about other countries. Hamas allegedly released statement praising Ilhan Omar, but asked her to describe events accurately. Wow. Hard-hitting journalism. Tapper corrects Psaki over Queen of England gaffe. BLM co-founder to speak at UCLA despite calls to end Israel or infighting and real estate shopping spree. Wow. You can't make this stuff up. Daily Signal. Biden divides U.S. Here are 12 principles that can unite us. Biden administration eyes ending discrimination against dead. Whatever that means. Oh, it's satire. Black mom, critical race theory is false. We talked about her yesterday. The Democrats filibuster Khan. North Carolina Senate sends bill banning abortions based on Down syndrome, sex, race to governor's desk. ACLU is putting trans rights ahead of women's rights. That's wrong. Yeah, ACLU is horrible. A horrible organization. I think they started off doing good work, and then they got liberals a lot of liberals got put in the ACLU, and now this is what you get. And Malcolm X warned us about white liberals. Malcolm X warned us. Trump park clearance story, latest in long line of media narratives to fall apart. Let's just do National Review really quick. GOP Center confronts HHS Secretary on birthing people phrase. Mom is a pretty good word. CDC. Teen suicide attempts surged during COVID lockdown. We talked about that. A low road to higher taxes. And people don't understand. It's not enough millionaires and billionaires, even if they raise taxes. So they have to tax the middle class. They're gonna tax the middle class. All Democrats want to do is raise taxes. It's gonna be on the middle class. Because rich people have the accountants and are able to get out of it. There are always loopholes for them. And they don't tell you this. So when they talk about raising taxes, they're talking about raising taxes on normal Americans. Biden to urge G7 allies to hold China accountable for human rights abuses. abusers. I don't trust any of that. They're not going to hold China accountable. How deregulation could make supersonic air travel great again. Western wonders in Oklahoma. Gilcrease Museum. What the Capitol riot prosecutions tell us. And I think that's it. So y'all want to donate, you can go to PayPal, paypal.me/DemocRepublics, or you can go to Cash App. I'm Jay Syke on Cash App. Please donate to keep us going. I wouldn't be able to do this without y'all support. Like, share, and subscribe. And share this out on the social media platforms to get the word out there. I'm going to be putting out more and more live content. I'm still going to be putting out my news clips throughout the week. And let me know what you think. Leave y'all comments down below about the news. And check out DEMOCREPUBLIX.com. Until next time.